There are examples though of corporations that I think in the past have shot themselves in the foot. One of my favorite. This is one of the reasons I hate Hollywood, by the way, but I think it's funny. There's a little bit of Schadenfreude with Hollywood, because I spent some time helping them fight piracy. I eventually got out of it because I a bunch of reasons, but one of them was I realized how hypocritical they were. They spent decades making movies about how large corporations were evil and run by evil people, and do anything you can to get at large corporations. Only large corporations are always run by evil people. Everything from like Monsters Incorporated to I don't know, like every movie with large corporations, like the guy's evil, the large corporations, evil, 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 large corporations. And then they turn around and they're shocked that people are like, I don't think stealing a movie is bad. I mean, it's Disney. They're a large corporation. It's like, well, what did you expect, morons? You deserve the piracy problem. You created the piracy problem. You told everyone that large corporations were faceless and you could steal from them, and so they started stealing from you. You kind of deserve it. Blackbeard, by the way, thank you for the super chat. He says,
"Oh, thank you, Blackbeard.
Don't forget, you also just buy out companies before they get too big to compete.
Yeah.
You do, but first of all, you can't be guaranteed that they'll sell. So you need leverage. And so one of those regulations actually great leverage. And I've personally heard this used in arguments during company acquisitions before, where the smaller companies looking to get acquired because there's a lot of regulatory overhead, and they look at their trajectory for going where they want to go, and their growth isn't as fast because they've got to deal with all this stuff. And a large corporation comes in and says, look, we've already got all that overhead in place. We've got our lobbyists. We've got our, we got the regulations taken care of. We'll just absorb you and you'll be able to grow much faster, right? And, to a founder that can A, get a payout, and B, cares about his idea, growing and being propagated, like that's a great thing, right? I mean, I don't know that this was the case in Facebook, any Facebook transactions in the past, but look, they bought WhatsApp, they bought Instagram. They do buy companies, and you gotta imagine that leverage helps, right? Leverage helps. So
they don't just try and buy out the companies. They also, you guys, if you're not familiar with this, look up what they've done to Gab, for example. They have a blueprint for what they do to any competition, any site that is a competitive site to one of the big socials, and they work in alliance with the legacy media. It's exactly like what we started off talking about. Google and NBC working in cahoots to demonetize the Federalist. They go after and they target anyone who's speaking wrongthink. And so what did they do to Gab? Well, Gab is a competitor to Twitter. And it was launched by someone who left Silicon Valley, was a wrong thinker, came to Texas, started this company. What did they do? They peppered the legacy media with propaganda pieces about how Gab is a platform for the alt-right and for white supremacists and for white nationalists and for just the most awful, awful people. The standard by which they judge this is a standard they don't apply to Twitter. You can find every type of person on Twitter as well, including the dretches of society. They don't say, hey, Twitter, you're responsible for this horrible human who's tweeting on your platform, and we're going to use this to malign your entire site and say your whole site is about this. No, but they do that to Gab, and they run it in headlines, and this is the way it's propaganda. So you see it, you don't even have to read the articles. You just see the headlines posted enough. And if you're in the echo chamber that believes this stuff, you come to, when I was in SJW, you just believe certain things that you've never investigated. So you just start speaking other people's opinions. Gab is a white supremacist site. So they've successfully I would say for the most part, successfully put Gab in this little place of do not go there if you're a liberal. Gab would love to have liberals.
You're right.
Gab would love to have people on the left. They would love to have liberals. But they've tried to make it off limits so that they can't gain a diversity of voices there and to make people reluctant to try it out. So they do that in the media. But then what do they do? Also, all the social media companies that basically control access to the public square join together and pile up on these competitors, these small competitors. So Gab, Google Play Store is it Android?
Apple won't put them up either, right?
Apple. So the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So whether you have Android or iPhone, both of those gatekeepers refuse to let Gab sell their app. So you can't get their app on your phone because they've deemed that what happens? They have their blueprint. What do they rely on to say you can't have this app? Well, they rely on the articles that their SJW buddies in media have published. They point to those and they say, that's why this is a hateful, we can't have this site. We're not going to let you have this app. Their domains, the people that host their domains come after them. Like every step of the way, they have to face hurdles that the big companies don't face. They have to, they are held to a standard that Twitter and Facebook are not held to. And they do everything they can to keep them from the marketplace so that they won't take off. And if you know people who, liberals, I'm speaking as a liberal, if you know liberals who support this kind of censorship and they say, well, I support it because it's legal, it's not the government doing this, you're a cowardly person who has no character if you say that, I believe, because I'm against censorship. It doesn't matter if it's the legal kind or the illegal kind. I'm against censorship. And I don't believe that just because something is legal, and I believe it should be legal, means that I think it's moral or ethical or right. There are lots of things that are legal that I think should be legal that are not moral and are not ethical. And I will speak against those things. And if you're a true liberal, you will speak against censorship no matter who's doing it, because it's the principle of the idea.
Yep.
So
well put. Yeah. There's also a level of dishonesty to it, right? Which you pointed out.
There's a total level of dishonesty to it. Yeah.
Right. Even if you're kind of ambivalent on censorship, you can look at the way that those sites are treated and see that there's a rampant double standard, right? And that should bother you. And the left used to be the one that was afraid of big corporations, right? But now they're all like, we love big corporations. We like to criticize Zuckerberg sometimes for, Russian ads, but in general, we love big corporations because we're in bed with big corporations, and they especially love large media corporations. They love CNN, they love NBC, which is owned by GE. They love the New York Times. They love Apple. They love Facebook. They love all of the big corporations, which is again back to your earlier point.
Yeah.
Why they're not about resistance.
They're hypocrites. They're not about principles, right? Like a liberal is on principle, they're against censorship, and it doesn't matter if the person being censored is someone they like or not. Right. It doesn't matter because they're against censorship, and they're smart enough to know what's used against our enemy can be used against them. You either stand for principles or you stand for ideology, and if you stand for ideology, you're going to become a massive hypocrite because you're going to put your ideology ahead of universal principles.
Yeah.
I'm on a little tear.
No, go on your tear.
Anyway.
It's a good tear.
Yeah.